So if you're an artist that has dreams about one day working at your favorite studio or working a comfortable, cozy 9-to-5 life designing art for a big company, you probably had your dreams at least a little bit shattered when all of the news of the layoffs started happening. The truth is that the landscape of the career world is starting to either veer away from the traditional ways jobs have been done or expand further into non-traditional paths. I watched this video called The Collapse of the Traditional Career by Life After Layoff, which gave some pretty insightful information on how the job world has evolved over time in response to a variety of crises. So to be honest, I don't have any tips I could change on what's happening to the world, but I do have advice that you can try to take control of in your own life, and that's how to start your own independent art career. I'm not going to get too deep into how I personally ended up here being a full-time independent artist, but you can check these videos here where I do take the time to explain them. But without further ado, here's everything that you will need. The first thing is a solid skill level and understanding of what type of art you want to do professionally. I'm sorry, but there's no magic potion or pill out there that will automatically grant you the ability to draw, design, paint, or create things well, but I can tell you that consistent practicing of your fundamentals in art will help keep your skills sharpened. There's no one way to refine your abilities, but knowing what type of practices you need to consistently do to improve your art is step one. The next understanding is to know what type of art you want to do professionally. For example, if you want to create your own comics or illustrated books to publish, you know your focus is to work on writing with art to support these stories versus doing ceramics or pottery. I will say to start your art career, you will need to also be real with the level of where your art is at. If you go to portfolio reviews and a lot of the feedback is still consisting of things like you need to work on mainly fundamentals, then you might most likely have to keep going at your art. But if your notes are more so on ways to improve on top of what you've already been doing, like tips to push your art a little bit further or suggestions on how to clarify a comic idea, then that's when you know you're in a better place to take your independent art career forward. So while social media like Instagram is one of the best places for the art community to engage and discover one another, you still need an official portfolio website to host your work and even sell if you're going to go with an e-commerce store. At the end of the day, I think a professional artist can get by without social media, but a website is still required to show up on search engines to display and sell your work. That's why I'm happy to introduce the sponsor of today's video, Hostinger. Building a website can probably be scary, and your first thought was probably, but I don't have coding skills. Hostinger's AI website builder requires no coding or technical expertise to create your own business website, online store, or portfolio. Head over to hostinger.com/MtsRbls, and here you can check the plans that they offer. The business plan is slightly more expensive, but it's worth it as it offers you all of the e-commerce tools to start selling your products. I advise to go with at least the 12 months, as you'll get the best bang out of your buck for that. Go down to checkout, and where it says, do you have a coupon code? You can add MtsRbls for 10% off. One of the best things about Hostinger is that they are affordable, and Hostinger offers a website and a free domain for as little as $3.99 a month. You can then clarify what website you want to build. For me, I ultimately want it to be a central hub of everything I offer as an artist, so you just describe your website in a few sentences and that's it. You can now use Hostinger's drag and drop feature to customize the website to your liking and add your own art and pictures. You can also add a storefront and use the e-commerce features to sell books, zines, digital products. Hostinger also offers an array of AI tools. My favorite one is the AI heat map detector to predict visitor behavior visits. And while I know AI can be an intimidating topic for artists, I really believe in this case it's here to take work off your plate so that you can focus on showcasing and selling your art. Click the link down below, hostinger.com/MtsRbls, to get 10% off and start saving time when building your website. Anyway, thank you to Hostinger for sponsoring today's video. And the next thing you need to do to pursue a professional independent art career is YouTube. Going back to social media, if I were to choose one platform you could share your work on, in the past I would have said Instagram, but YouTube is the place where you can still build a relationship with your following, but also monetize the work you're putting into your social media and your supplemental work. Note that your videos only generate passive income once the video has been created, so there's still work required on the front end. Ideas you could use for your YouTube channel are sharing your art journey to pursuing an art career, sharing a day in your life of running your art business, creating art tutorials, tips and advice, drawing and animating story time videos of your life experiences, and once you develop a strong following, that fan base can can ultimately help you with projects outside of the social media space, like publishing your own book, fundraising a Kickstarter for an animated project, or bringing customers to your online shop. There actually are a lot of different avenues you can take as an art YouTuber, but my only tip for that realm is being able to stick to one of the themes mentioned so your audience knows what to expect from you and to develop trust with you. Now moving to some physical items you may need to become a full-time independent artist. First is an iPad Pro. So if you want me to be honest, if I were to choose between an iPad or a Cintiq, I would probably choose the iPad, not only for its portability, but because I find that you can create art a lot faster when given a smaller surface area to work on. On top of that, when you bring an iPad with you to places, you still have the functionality of elements of a computer, but with a Cintiq, all you have is the monitor. And again, the difference is if you have work you need to send to clients while you're on the go, you have those functions already available to you on the iPad. Apps like Procreate, Clip Studio Paint, and Photoshop all already have their iPad versions available, so it's not like you're losing on any of the drawing apps you would be using on a computer. Some additional bonuses I have are this iPad stand I got from Anchor. Other than an iPad, these days, artists pretty much need filming equipment as well, and I have the Canon EOS M50 camera with the Rode Video Mic Pro and this tripod from UBsize, which I like because it can raise to 67 inches, which can film from really high angles. It's mainly for phones, but if your camera is light enough like mine is, it can also be used. And some extra bonuses I have are a teleprompter for long videos with a lot of information like this one, because it saves me time from doing retakes and looking on and off the camera screen. Another piece of equipment I have is this Neewer overhead camera mount for filming Draw With Me videos, doing anything top-down filming related, and I also got these light panels I can clip onto the overhead mount or anywhere where there's a bar to provide extra lighting to whatever I film. So this one isn't really necessary to start, but I will say that a decent video editor can go a long way. For me, I use Final Cut Pro to make these videos, and I used to use Adobe Premiere. There are also free options like DaVinci Resolve and iMovie for editing on your computer, and on your phone you can use InShot or CapCut for short form content. You only really need these things though once you start the social media / supplemental aspect of promoting your work online. The next few things you may need physically, but in the form of people, are either an agent or a manager and a tax accountant. An agent you may need for representation when it comes to finding clients, publishers, or studios to collaborate with and help handle your negotiations, because you probably will be dealing with contracts that you won't know how to understand or navigate. So it's best to hire an agent who will take roughly 10 to 15% of what you make as a normal baseline. And they're also the ones who help you find your next opportunity. So it's like you have an assistant in client hunting and have some additional support for pitching who you are as an artist to companies. Tips to find your agent are looking up your favorite comic artist, illustrator, or artist. Simply look up the word agency or managed by or represented by when doing the Google search. Usually a lot of agents partnered with artists align in values in some way, whether it's through their art style or storytelling style. And as for managers, this is more so for social media. I find, for example, once you gain a high enough following that you could call for sponsors and collabs with companies, managers are pretty much similar to agents in that world, but more so for your social media work. They also help handle negotiations for when you get reached out to by brands, and I would say that managers for YouTube actually have public reviews, and you can search them up yourself simply by looking up influencer marketing agency reviews. I know that referring to yourself as an influencer is a little bit cringe, but that's just the umbrella term used now for anyone who is able to monetize the platform they're on. Then finding an accountant. I'm sorry I don't have much tips as to where you can look for one, but just know that come tax season as an independent artist, you will most likely be filing a lot of 1099s that an accountant would help you look through to calculate your tax refunds and what you owe and etc. And as a bonus, I would also recommend you opening up your own business credit card to track expenses you had to spend on your business to make tax season a lot easier for you to go through, because everything would just be on this card and you don't have to search through your other ones just to find the expense. So some of you may also be wondering if you should start things like a Patreon, Etsy shop, etc. And I'll say again that these things really come down to what you are specifically offering as an artist. If you know you want to run a shop online, Etsy and Shopify are options, but those are things you can also do from your own custom website. As for memberships like Patreon, I would say that you shouldn't overwhelm yourself with so much to do from the get-go and only begin offering exclusive memberships once your following starts to really build up. So second to last, I feel like this one doesn't get talked about enough, but I actually think listening to videos or podcasts that actually help explain how people were able to navigate their independent art or entrepreneurial careers are going to be necessary to, 1, remember that you're not alone in this, and 2, learn through other people's strategies. I think a lot of artists, while talented, forget that there's a lot of business behind making their own brand or being able to effectively sell their work for it to help them make a living. I personally listen to podcasts like Radical Disruption by Maya Nicole on Spotify that helps explain navigating social media, especially Instagram, and how to monetize your work, whether that be your art or posts. Then the last thing you need to do to become a professional independent artist is money. Yes, those quotes you hear about in order to make money, you need money is kind of true. For me personally, I never just went full on independent straight out of school. I spent at least 5 years working full time in animation as a storyboard artist, further building my skills and that financial runway so that when finally shit hit the fan, I'm finally ready for takeoff. What I'm trying to say is that ultimately you may need some money to cushion you for when you don't know how your independent art career will take off in the beginning. And I'll be real, in my first year of being independent, I was not making as much money as when I was working in animation and making a book at the same time. A little pay cut may happen, but make sure that you will be okay and have an emergency fund even if you do. I think the biggest mistake a lot of people make is deciding to embark on this path that they're not financially ready for, only for finances to serve as a distraction from them from being able to really focus on what they need to do in their independent art career. Anyway, I hope you found this video informative in the things that you would need to begin an independent art career. No matter what type of art you do, I'm sure you'll all come across needing these things, and I'm sure I also missed out on some details like an external hard drive or a sketchbook and more. So why don't you share in the comments down below what tools have helped you with pursuing an independent art career, even if you're not a full-time independent artist. But either way, thank you again to Hostinger for sponsoring today's video, and I will see you all in the next one.